Alright everyone, this is Suike Novus back finally with this episode, and let's try recording this again. This is actually one of the last two episodes of the story. Pretty much the last episode that gets a lot of explanation. The next episode doesn't really need all that much. We're going to go ahead and jump in and jump right into the story. So, starting up, we've gotten all the weapons, because Lowie's the last weapon that you can get, and you get one more event here in Lowie that's about the final battle. And obviously this means that we're going to run into a certain person that we need to fight another time. And oddly enough, this chapter has pretty much the most that happens. It explains pretty much everything that's going on is explained to you in the last 30 minutes. Why? Well, the last hour or so. Why everything's going on is explained to you all at once. Anyway, we're standing around talking about pretty much Arfoire as well as Hysteric'al, and then all of a sudden Arfoire shows up. And so what she's getting ready to do is she's going to freeze half your party, and this is a one-on-one fight between Arfoire and Neptune. And it's pretty much indicative of how you're going to do in the final boss fights. If this is an issue for you, you're going to have problems with the final boss. If this is no problem for you, then you shouldn't have any issues at all. Just how it turns out. As a very side note, this episode gave me way more trouble than episode 10 did. I had to render this episode 3 different times before it got to this point where I can actually commentate over it, and then I'm going to have to render it one more time before I can actually upload it. And this is also my 3rd time trying to come up with commentary for this episode, because something drastic ends up happening. I have to scrap my commentary and start all over again. So when I sound slightly annoyed with this episode, I'm done with this episode. Officially, I'm done. It's been 2 weeks of straight up trying and things not working out. I'm just annoyed with it. On the flip side, the next episode actually has relatively small amounts of commentary to it. There's not that much I need to say. And unfortunately, even though this is listed as final, this is not the final episode. It was originally going to be, but no one wants to watch a 2-hour episode. Like, seriously. Plus, my computer was refusing to render it, constantly throwing Stack Overflow, so yeah. Anyway, you should be able to take out Arfoire in a single. If you've done everything and if you've recruited all the goddesses, you should be able to take out Arfoire in a single cycle. You shouldn't even get the chance to beat you. Maybe 2 cycles. If Arfoire takes more than 2 cycles, you're going to have problems with the final boss. Also, if you're a collector and you've been keeping track of all the different items that sort of have little patterns to them, you'll notice that we're missing a certain keychain. That keychain is actually going to come up, but after this, after you fight R4, or actually right before you fight R4, you also have the option to do that at that point in time as well. This is when it opens up so that you can go ahead and recruit the other goddesses of the different lands, and effectively they all go the same way. I'm going to show you them all anyway, but just to go ahead and break it down, you go to the goddess and you're like, hey, do you want to help us fight R4 with them? And they're going to say no in their own special way, and the main reason why is because Neptune doesn't remember everything that's going on. And you can see once you've once a little bit more is explained to you what's actually going on and why they don't want to really help Neptune. But yeah, they all pretty much say the same thing, and you have to get no's from everybody before you can move on with CPU recruitment quests. That being said, you don't have to do this to finish the game. It makes finishing the game a lot easier, but you don't have to do this.
そう見えるならきっとそうね。早速見つけたね。この食いしん坊さん。やめてください。よかったわね。ノリのいい子で。私にとっても女神様たちは一部みたいなもので、それより今日はとても大切。いいわ。ただして。
One very interesting thing is known about this. All the goddesses know about Arfoire. And apparently all the goddesses have heard Histoire, even though they don't necessarily mention it. So it kind of sort of explains a little bit as to why they don't really believe you when you start talking about Arfoire. Because Arfoire is actually very, very important. It's been mentioned that she's a former goddess, but there's a lot more to it than that when it comes to the current goddesses. Or CPUs, however you want to put it. And the reason why I keep saying goddess / CPU and I keep mixing it up is because effectively they're referred to as both in this game. They're majority of the time they're referred to as goddesses, but what they really are CPUs. In the next game, you're going to hear CPU and CPU candidates way more than you hear goddess. So there you go, there it is. And I won't be playing the next game for a long period of time if I play it. And I probably will play it, or let's play it, but I won't be recording it for a long period of time. Sadly, this also involves a lot of traveling, and the traveling is not really that. I really wish you didn't have to do the traveling. The world map of the next game is way better than in this game, because in the very beginning, traveling between continents, okay, it's helpful. You can gather items there, you can get a little EXP, but after that, it's a severe waste of time. But anyway, we talked to Blanc already, and there's not really too much about Blanc. Doesn't get too broken up about everything that happened on her continent. However, Noir and Vert are a little different. We're on Leanbox right now. We're getting ready to go find Vert, and Vert's inside of a dungeon. And the weirdest thing is, when we first met Vert, Vert was this gamer who pretty much sat in her room and played games all day and left all of the hard work to her underlings. Well, not her underlings, but the people who worked under her. Well, that's technically an underling, but that makes it sound so terrible, so I'm going with people who worked under her. And we saw how terribly that turned out for humans as well as just everything. Everything went wrong. So Vert felt bad about this, and she makes a complete 180 to being this incredibly hardworking person who's almost to the point of being almost like Neptune, trying to exterminate the monsters on her own. Which is a plus when it comes to her character. It's too bad she has to represent the Xbox, and anyone who knows me knows that I don't like Xbox, but that's a completely different story. And it's not that I don't like Xbox, I don't like Microsoft. But anyway, Vert is overheated. She went into a dungeon and she's overheated. And yes, every single time you need to talk to Vert, from now on, you're going to find her in a dungeon. It's quite annoying. But Vert's overheated, and all the CPUs, whenever they push themselves too much, they overheat. Like a computer, so that's one of the reasons why you can refer to them as CPUs, and they have CPU forms. But when they overheat, they effectively can't move effectively. I mean, essentially that's what it comes down to. They effectively can't move. And Vert actually lets us know a little bit more. Vert's actually the very first gives us the very first indication that someone else other than Neptune heard Histoire, which meant all the goddesses could have, and Histoire actually mentioned that, but Vert heard her as well. She gamed for too long, and she wasn't sure if she was real or not. So yeah.
あの時の私の声は女神様である。それよりも今は先代の女神様マジェコンヌの話を。
I did mention before, but I'm going to go ahead and reiterate. I'm not actually going to recruit the goddesses in this playthrough. I'm not doing it. It takes an incredibly long time. It's an extreme pain. But on the flip side, you are going to see the goddesses fight in the next video. There's no really reason to hide this or anything like that, but the very first, I'm gonna go through this twice so I can show you two of the endings. There's a third ending, I believe, but there's not really a point in doing it. There is the bad ending and the good ending. The bad ending is not really a bad ending, it's just the normal ending, I guess. And then there's the good ending, which is technically not really a good ending, but nothing bad happens in it as well. But neither of this matters, because none of this canon, so the normal ending's the closest thing to canon than anything else. But yeah, you're going to see me fight the regular final boss and then the true final boss. And the true final boss is evil, but we'll get more into that when we get to those fights. We are now in Lost Station, and Noir has taken everything that went wrong during her time pretty hard as well. So effectively, she messed up. So she's like, okay, I messed up, I'm out, you people are better off without me. The people under me need to merge together and work together. It might not be great in the beginning, but eventually things will be fine. And it's another thing, I like Noir. Noir is my favorite, and that's actually something I would do. I like Vert's decision a lot more, but what Noir does is something I would actually do. And you kind of barge your way in here instead of asking if you can have an audience. And also, Neptune has a little bit more fun with Noir than anyone else. Which is weird. I don't necessarily know why, because the people who you think would have the most fun together would be Neptune and Block, but that's a completely different story. Noir is the more joking / serious one, which I will show off when I show off some of the events. So I'm going to go ahead and skip this text because it's effectively the same thing as the other two goddesses I told you. Now we're going to go ahead and head back to Planet Neptune, because that's where we need to go to advance the story, even though we don't have to advance the story in the first place. We can go ahead and fight the final boss if we want to. I keep reiterating that point, but that's mainly because there's not very much to talk about at this point until we catch up to ourselves. So this is essentially what's going to explain the majority of what's going on. Neptune feels really down on herself due to the fact that the goddesses all turned her down because she doesn't really remember her past as a goddess. And everyone tries to cheer her up, and she really wants to do this with the others. And this leads to a very interesting conversation with Histoire. Oh, and also we contemplate beating up on Neptune so that she might remember. And apparently, Neptune's land is quite overpriced.
ても治らないって。刺すのもダメ、撃つのもダメ、切るのはもっとダメ。もう一度女神様たちのところへ行きましょう。無理だよ。それに私も。
No, Histoire, this is the easy way out. And effectively, Neptune might have probably should have taken this, but she's decided that she wants to get her memory back just so that she can feel like she's not running away. And Histoire offers to restore her memory, but she says that this may not be something that she wants to do.
何それ。だってイストワールは自分で秘書の中身を変えたりできないんでしょ。修復はできるんです。不可抗力で事実が消えることは。でも本当によろしいんですか。女神様としての。いいのいいな。だいたい私はハードなんだもん。他の女神様を説得してマジェコンドを倒すことは女神様ですが。
Sorry about adjusting my mic. For some strange reason, it keeps moving back into the area so you can hear me breathe.
大丈夫。このネプテューヌちゃんは。わかりました。では。
So Histoire warns Neptune that she may not want her memories, and there's a reason why we're about to actually go into and see sort of what happened before Neptune and the other goddesses were created to what started the console wars. I'd love to fast forward through this, but unfortunately I can't. But for the very first part, she notices Arfoire, and this is within her head, so her memories are kind of mixed up. Her consciousness sees Arfoire, and it's like, oh crap, bad guy at 12 o'clock. But anyway, she doesn't realize that she's not really in this cutscene, so she's not really being acknowledged because these are her memories kind of sort of melding with Histoire's memories to rebuild where Neptune is. And apparently Arfoire got sick and tired of ruling and protecting the human world.
マジェコンヌ、どうしました？難しい。どっから湧いたのイス？
So, due to that, she decides that, hey, at this point in time, we should probably get together and make the next set, or the next goddess. And at this point in time, you're not necessarily sure if, well, I guess I shouldn't say that because it might ruin the story a little bit. And it is very quiet in Celestia. Before the four goddesses existed, it was just Histoire and Arfoire, so they knew each other very well. Now, at this point in time, it's after the four have been created. So essentially what happens is Arfoire rewrites the records, redoes the world so that there can be 4 different CPUs instead of just one. And time will have changed so that no one will have remembered Arfoire. And Arfoire is not the true CPU like you might think. Anyway, that's still another different story that would ruin the story if I completely explain that statement. And I'm taking long pauses because I'm waiting for this to catch up. And that little smirk that you see from Arfoire right before it ends lets you know that this was something that Arfoire had planned at this point in time. Now we're actually about to run into why the goddesses fight and why, and it leads to this total big dramatic thing. So Arfoire goes to Neptune. She says that the other goddesses are fighting. It's tearing the world apart, and it's just horrible for all the other people. So what you need to do is you need to defeat the goddesses, the other goddesses, and sort of take over the responsibilities. And it causes this discord between the goddesses, and that's effectively how all this started. And all of them heard the same thing, and Arfoire is their mother, effectively. So a part of Arfoire is in all of them. So at this point in time, Neptune's extremely... she's unstable. The reason why she's unstable is because she and her... I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there. Sister goddesses, because it's going to be said later. Because they all have the same parents. All are fighting because Arfoire instigated something that wasn't really true in order to further her own designs. And the fact that Arfoire is a part of her drives her nuts because she's afraid of being Arfoire at the same time. So you get this moment where Neptune's not acting like herself, and she's not going to act like herself for a little bit. And this sparks the second time that Neptune leaves your party. It's going to happen in a few seconds. I'm tired of waiting. But yeah, Neptune's going to leave your party again. But this time it's going to be a little bit more complicated, because the monster's going to be a lot more difficult. However, we're also going to have a little bit of help from our DLC characters. Don't worry, we're almost done. So IF and Compa went shopping before, and it was just Neptune and Hysteric's before. And IF and Compa have come back, and they don't see Neptune anywhere. And yet again, another one of those 3-day statements. So effectively, we do the same thing that we've done the entire time, and that is go and find some witnesses that actually know where it is, and for some strange reason know more about this world than the person who is the world. And with this, we can't teleport, and we can also not go to Celestia. So we need to go find Neptune, and thankfully, it's just an event away. And also, thankfully, there was just some person who happened to see where Neptune went. And this place looks a little nicer than most of the ruins we've been into. And the reason why is because it's actually the pathway for the goddesses to go, well, the goddess from planet Neptune to go back and forth between Celestia and planet Neptune. Which Hysteric's about to say. So, this time though is a little bit different. We actually are going to have to fight Neptune, and I don't remember if you had to fight Neptune once before. But yeah, we're going to fight Neptune because she's hysterical and we have to stop her, effectively. You're also going to get to see me use Lyrica a little bit in this video, so I like Lyrica. She's still very fun to use. She's got some of my favorite skills. And I still find this absolutely hilarious. This whole entire dialogue is about they're not necessarily sure if Neptune can take on the goddess by herself. But as you're going to see in the next episode, Neptune effectively does beat Arfoire 3 different times by herself because no one else really gets to attack. Now the true Arfoire is a bit different story because the true Arfoire can actually one-shot Neptune. Literally. The true Arfoire actually one-shots Neptune. So, I mean, even if you've been through the game 3 times, you can actually still have a character lose instantly to R4 if R4 gets the very first hit in. It's fairly rare, but it does happen. Lyrica with her nice shiny guitar. Now, unfortunately, Neptune isn't really that much of a pushover, but thankfully, all goddesses are weak to the same element, which is fire. So you can pretty much just spam fire until they drop it. I think I'm able to single cycle this, but it eats up all of my AP, except for using red, who I'm not using. Lyrica is also one of the very few people who does not use a gun. I don't remember if Red does. She might, but she might not. But don't underestimate combo, because due to the fact that you know what element she's Neptune's weak against, you can get a ton of damage in with her. Also, another really annoying point to them removing Neptune from your party yet again is the fact that you kind of actually have to re-equip her yet again. But Neptune has flashbacks as to everything that's going on throughout the course of the game. And the very first thing she sees is the Avenir flashback, where she starts feeling that she might be just as selfish as R4, and it's not possible to be as selfish as R4 for what she's trying to do. And then she starts actually flashing back to other times that are a lot more happier and shows what she actually wants to do and why she's doing things that she wants to do. So effectively, the whole reason why we just had the drama go down that just went down is because Neptune was being hysterical due to the fact that she was actually related to R4. And interestingly enough, the statement that Hysterical just made is quite true. If Neptune did not listen to Hysterical in the first place, bad things were going to happen really soon. Now, of course, I'm skipping the text in between during her flashbacks because there's not really a reason to see it again. We already saw it once before, and it's not important information. So, we've been out cold for a while, so we wake up in Compass room yet again. And we have a little talk, and it's all hugs and kisses, and we're getting back together. Yay. As I said, I'm totally done with this episode. It's been so much of a pain. But thankfully, we are almost done with this episode, which also means we're almost done with my commentary for this game. Not. We have like 5 more episodes of commentary for me. The game story is almost over, but there's a lot more I still need to explain. I plan on actually doing a video that actually explains the story from beginning to end, which should make it a lot easier to follow than my actual commentary and playing through this game, because it's quite easy to get lost in it.
もう勝手に抜けたりしないでよ。ネプコが私に言ったことなんだから。もともとは私がネプネプに言った言葉です。本当に。大丈夫大丈夫。もう一人で倒しに行ったりとかしないよ。イース、そういえばイースはネプネプが目を覚ますまでにきっとネプネプのことだ。なんかバカにされてる気がする。イースンのとこ行って。
Yeah, I can breathe. Okay, this should work.
なんでもお見通しって感じね。
So we get Neptune back. We get to Arfoire again, which would be important if we were recruiting the goddesses, but we're not recruiting the goddesses. Never again. So I just skipped a whole lot of stuff. It was basically re-equipping Neptune and something else that I don't quite remember. And it wasn't quite as clean as I wanted it to be, but as I said, this video was not cooperating. So we reached the shrine where we actually can pop in the 4 weapons. And essentially Hyperdimension directs where everything goes. We don't really do anything, it's just like that where we watch it. And that's still one of the bad things about this game. There's a lot of things that you don't actually do that I wish you could do. There's a lot of CG that they could do that they didn't do. But then, well, I'll talk about that more later.
どこにまだこんな部屋があったんだ。ここが古の英雄の武器。
And of course, the pathway is on Planet Neptune. But then again, if the world was all one and then it was split up, then it would kind of make sense.
英雄の槍、英雄ハイブリッジの達人の連。次に南の壁に英雄の銃を。南ってこっちですね。英雄の銃は英雄マウスロープの葬式巨人。次は西の壁に英雄の弓を。西ということは東の真向かいだから。最後に北の壁に英雄の剣。英雄ツリーベルの。
I do want to show the only unique map in this entire game, and if you've played Trinity Universe, this is not a unique map because you see it a lot. Celestia looks quite a lot like other maps that we've seen in other games. But we've now opened up a path we can now go into Celestia if we'd like.
ネプテューヌさん、時は来ました。住んではいないと思います。拠点です、拠点。ということはもしかして。ちょっと待って、宣教師の衣装って何？談笑はそれくらいにして、そろそろ行きましょう。
Yeah, we're not in Celestia, but we are in Celestia, so yeah. Just wrap your head around that. Ignore the fact that we went back to Planet Neptune even though we were just in Celestia. This is Celestia. Its map actually has the same exact design as another map in Trinity Universe. Anyway, that's about it for this episode. We're just going to go ahead and pop through this archway and go ahead and take a little peek at the final boss, or not. I'm sorry, but I had to cut it there. But anyway, this is Weekend Novus signing out. I'll see you next time in the final portion of this game.